Bismillah, Assalamualaikum. So this will be focusing on the midterm that we recently have. So we have gone through the midterm exam recently, and I have just completed the marking and the grading. I have returned the papers for you, and hopefully in 1 week or 2 weeks I will do video specifics on the observation that I have in terms of the mistakes that happen a lot in the midterm, etc. That hopefully will help some of you to prepare for the final exam, at least, because some of the question will, or meaning some of the topics may return back in the final exam. So you really have to really understand where mistakes that you have done, so that you will not repeat it in the final exam. But for this video, we will just focus on the trend that I have observed, and some commentaries I have. So I'm not sure whether this will be that much beneficial, but I just like to see the trends and reflect on it and see if there's any noticeable trend that indicates something. So before we go to the midterm, I just want to show the current distribution of marks for the quiz. So if you are my students, you know already that I'm taking the best 8 marks of your base 8 quizzes basically throughout the semester, and of course this is tabulation of or plot of the marks, the average mark of the best 8 marks for each of the students, and I have arranged it from the highest to the lowest. Of course, towards the end of the semester, if you improve or get the quiz that we will have after this, if you get marks that are better from what you have before, obviously it will push your marks up. So this is just the current state, and it is quite interesting. It's like a distribution straight away like that. Some have almost 20 marks. The average, meaning that most of your quizzes are around, or at least the best 8 are around 20, 19, 18, right? And the distribution is as such. I hope that those who are from the bottom side can push your mark in the upcoming quizzes, so that it will being pushed up a little bit more. So we have another like 5 weeks, 4 to 5 weeks to go in this semester. So at least we'll have at least five or more quizzes, upcoming quizzes. So it should be enough to push up for the best 8 marks. Yeah, so hopefully you can do that. Now, going to the midterm. So before going to the specifics, we have 4 questions for the midterm, and when we do the question, we said basically the question number 1 is expected to be the easiest for most students. So we say that, okay, this question is the question that every student should be able to answer or secure maximum marks. And that question number 2 and 3 is basically the middle question that of course we expect good student to get full marks. Most will be having decent marks, and some might have some problem there. And question number 4 is the relatively the more difficult ones, and we expect most students will find it challenging there, right? So that the distribution is as such, so that it should not be that challenging for most students to pass the midterm, because we have 2 questions at the middle. 1 question should be easy to secure most of the marks, and 1 question is the challenging one to see whether to differentiate the A and A minus and B plus basically, right? So going to the question number 1, so each question is distributed evenly, 25 marks to give for the 4 question 100 marks, right? So this is for question number 1. So not surprising, we can see that a lot of, how many here, 16 students actually, I think roughly, have full marks there. So as expected, many students can get full marks here, and some just make a mistake, I guess, that will get like 24 something. And then I think 2/3 have at least 20 marks, roughly speaking, right? I think roughly 2/3 of the students get 20 out of 25 marks. But unfortunately for few, they lose marks. I'm not sure why. So to lose on the question that is the easiest one, it is unfortunate, I guess. Yeah, so this is the distribution. It's not that surprising that most students get at least 20 out of 25 for this question. Oh, not really. Yeah, 20. Right? Here it's like 17. Anyway, so that's question number 1. For question number 2, I think this is the most surprising, where I was surprised that many students lose a lot of marks here. Apparently, either they do not understand the question, or I'm not sure why. My assumption is because if you answer based on familiarity, because the question use figure that normally, that type of figure is being used for equilibrium problem, right? So I just make that type of diagram. But the question, if you read, you know it is not about equilibrium. It's just what is the resultant moment, something like that, right? Or simplification of force and moment, couple moment system. So it is clearly from which chapter if you read the question. It's just that I think if anyone answer based on familiarity, that they just look at the diagram, the straight way answer, because the question do not state anything about support reaction, and many students actually answer for support reaction. So that is so surprising to me, and I hope that will not be repeated in the final exam, because that's a bad way to lose marks. So there's some that get 0 here, and then there's many that's quite significant actually, that get less than 10 out of 25. So that's a shame, but some still get, I think this is 3 students, I guess, get full marks. So okay, right? So but the slope is much steeper than expected. I have to admit. Anyway, question number 3. So I do expect something like this. Question number 2 and 3, at least it's something like this, because most students should be able to answer it, and of course some may find it challenging. So here question number 3, so it is not that surprising in terms of the trend. I think like 6 students get full marks, and a lot get above 20 out of 25, and then of course perhaps some mistakes, etc., and some have struggle. I'm not sure why. And then question number 4, this is the expected to be the difficult one. If you understand, it's not that difficult, but based on past experience, we do know that many students tend to be intimidated by 3D diagram. When we just put 3D diagram, many students freak out and then seems do not know what to do, even though if you understand, it's not difficult really. But it is expected. So 4 students still managed to get full marks. That is good to see. And roughly, I think some students also still get above 20, but you can see that it goes down quite steep. And then a lot here either attempt something or do not even write anything, because there's quite a number of students that did not even attempt question number 4, just by perhaps the diagram is very intimidating. So we really need to take care of that, because in the final exam, if 3D diagrams still intimidate you, meaning is here you just by this question alone you lose quarter of the marks. That is significant. And given that in the final exam, if you want to pass the course, you have to pass the final exam. You cannot afford to just lose quarter of the mark simply like that. It will get you into real danger of not passing the final exam. Hence, you will not pass the whole course, whatever your carry mark is. Anyway, so that's the trend, and we'll just go to the full, meaning that if you add up the 4 questions for each student. So this is the trend. So there are students that get, I think only 2 get above 90, and for the few that is above 80, and the rest is, as you can see. So I think there's 5 students that, okay, if we look at the passing mark, right, the general passing mark, which is 50, so one third is below, one third is below 50 marks, so 30%. I really hope that in the final, at least students in this region, hopefully all, even you are here, there's still chance to pass actually, because in the final exam carries 50 marks from the total marks. So if we can do well there, it can really push you up in terms of the total marks, and hopefully it is you manage to pass, right? So I do hope that at the end of the semester, those who do not pass the course is much less than 30%. I sincerely hope so. So if you are struggling, please reach out, please, communicate with your friends, discuss with me, with whoever that can help, inshallah. Now finally, taking a look at the current carry mark. When you add the quiz mark for 20% and the midterm for 30% of the total, so the carry mark as of now per 50 marks is looking like this, right? Of course this will change because the midterm marks will not change, but the quiz mark can be pushed further up, especially for those students who are still at the lower marks, right? So looking at this, there are some students that have above, or at least 2 that have above 45 out of 50, meaning that they only lose like 4 marks so far. So hopefully they can maintain the momentum, so that come the final exam, and after this you can reach that A, right, and do not lose mark in the final exam. For those who are above 40 here, also, I'm not sure about your quiz marks, but if it can be pushed a bit higher as well, and the final exam you can remain the same momentum, inshallah you can get A as well. Those who are in this region, you still have the chance. It just means that in the final exam you really have to score, right, like all at least 90 marks perhaps. I guess it will push you to get A overall, right? And for those who are on the lower side here, please consult, reach out, rectify whatever problem that you have. We still have time. We have 5 weeks plus before the final exam, so there are still some things that you can do, but it is a steep hill to climb if you actually have not understood properly the previous chapters. And as I have repeatedly mentioned in the beginning, throughout this course it will be thick and fast. If you fall back behind, and then each classes we have new material, new topics that we cover, if you do not keep up, it will be very, very challenging. So but there's still hope, meaning that if what do we say, if we cannot get full marks, do not get 0, right? Meaning that let's try to get whatever is possible, and if it means that we have to revise and polish on the earlier chapters to really get the fundamentals, because it is crucial, right? Because many of the chapters that comes later is built upon the earlier chapters. So if you are struggling about those, please consult, so that we can try to do something to help you. Obviously it will not come without a lot of effort, without a lot of exercises. This is the nature of the course. Yeah. Alright, so that's it. Hopefully, hopefully in the end, we will get minimum as possible student that do not pass the course. I'm here to help as best as I can, but if you do not reach out, it's out of nothing that I can do. Wallahu alam. So thank you for all your commitment and all your efforts. May Allah grant the rewards for you for all the effort, regardless of the outcome. But of course, we make the effort and we pray, we make dua that Allah will give us the best of reward in Jannah, as well as the best of results in the exam. I think that's all. Thank you. Wallahu a'lam.